Today we're going to be working on our still life. I have this in the still life slideshow if you want to use this still life that I've provided for you, or you can go make your own. If you choose to make your own still life, you need at least 4 objects. They need to all be different, and I want you to vary the location, like have some objects close to you, some objects far from you, and turn them different ways. And also try to make sure you put them on a light surface, like a white floor against a white wall, so you are just focusing on the shadows that you see and you can see the objects clearly. If you don't have a way of doing this, then I suggest you just stick with mine. I've printed mine out just so I have it a little easier. You can just stare at the slideshow if that works for you, but my very first thing I like to do is break down the image, and I kind of find the halfway mark this way, and then the halfway mark this way, and then I do the same to my drawing paper. So if you have a blank piece of paper, that would work best. If you're drawing on notebook paper, then well, use what you got. But I'm going to lightly draw a line on my drawing paper here and then mark it halfway this way. So the goal here is to make the photograph match on my drawing paper. And the very first thing I want to do is draw the largest object first. That would be my pot with the plant here in the back. And I'm just going to notice where it's hitting my plus sign that I just created. So the top of my pot comes a little bit above the plus sign. Okay, so I'm going to mark that in. The bottom of the pot, well, if I'm looking at this whole image and I kind of break it down and I see the bottom here, it's just about halfway down, I would say, maybe a little higher. So halfway down, maybe it'd be right here, and let's move up a little bit. So marking it right here. So this is where how tall my pot's gonna be. And then I also see that there's a lip on the pot where it kind of sticks out, and that's another little ways up. We'll kind of mark it in right here. I might need to adjust this later, but for now, let's see how it works. So the top of the pot, let's see about making it this wide. I'm looking at where it stops here. It's kind of halfway across. So that would be about right here. And actually need to make it a little longer. And on this side, it's not halfway. So here would be like halfway. So it's a little bit over from halfway. So maybe right here, let's stop it. Okay, and then another thing I'm looking at are the sides of the pot. They are angling inward. They are not completely vertical. So they do come in at an angle. And this side. Now I know I have an object blocking my view, but I'm actually going to kind of draw the whole thing in right now because it's easier for me. The bottom of the pot, it is curved because this is a cylinder. Curve, so make sure you curve this. The top is slightly curved, but it's kind of hard to tell in the photograph. And then this would also have a curve to it. And I'm noticing that this sticks out further than the pot, so I'm going to do that. Make sure it sticks out further than the sides here. Okay, so for the base of my pot, I think that looks pretty good so far. And now I know this continues, but I can't really see it, so that side doesn't quite matter as much. The next thing I would do is look at your leaves. So I'm going to mark where they touch here, up here, here. This one's kind of smack dab on that line, here and here. So that would be kind of close to the top. This one's a little shorter. This one, I'm comparing it to my other leaves. It's shorter than this one. So when I come across here, I'm going to bring it down a little bit and say right about there. Then this one would be the next slowest one. And it's kind of way out here. And then this one's kind of down a little bit. So I've just kind of marked them in. And let's see if this is correct. So I'm going to start with my biggest leaf right here. This guy right here. He kind of starts narrow and then gets fat. So if I look at the base of the leaf, it's about right here. Kind of starts narrow and then gets fatter and then whips back around. just like that. There's kind of a little extra trim on it with that light colored part. Okay, so leaf number 1. I'm going to do the leaf here in the back next, so this guy. And I'm going to pay attention where it's touching my leaf. So I've got it hitting right here and kind of right here. So that's right about here and right here. And this comes up and over and then kind of down. And then it reappears down here. And if you look closely, there's actually, now that I see it, another leaf behind here, kind of hiding right here, and another little guy sticking out right here. Didn't notice that before until I printed it out. And now I'm going to do, I have this leaf here in front, so I'm looking at the stuff that's in front first. So this little guy kind of starts on the right side of this plus sign, comes up and over to my little point, and then back down. And then I have the leaf over here, coming up and over to here, and then squeezing in here, just like that, I would say. Again, it gets a little white yellow spot. And then I just have one leaf left here in the middle. This guy, he's kind of right here on the line, so I'm going slow, filling it in here, kind of reappears a little bit. And then on this side, comes real close and back down. Okay, so before I even move on to other objects, I'm just going to double check things. Pretend you are a scientist and you are really studying this image, okay? I think it looks good. This is the tallest. Second one looks good. Okay. Okay, so after you draw the largest item, now it's time to move on to the closest item, which would be this pear right here in front. And I'm going to pay attention to where it touches other objects. So like I'm paying attention to where the top of the pear is hitting my pot. I'm noticing that the stem is kind of right here on that center line that I added. And then I'm also going to see if I can't add some, like break this object into some shapes. If I look, I see a round circle inside here and another round circle inside here. Let me make it red so you can see what I'm talking about. So if I could break my pear up into 2 shapes to make it a little easier, I see 2 circles and then you just connect them together. So the top of my pear kind of hits right about here on my pot. And then I'm also noticing my smaller circle is kind of right on top of the bottom part of my pot, and then my stem is somewhere here. So let's just start making a circle and see what happens. Making a round circle, make my second circle. I said it comes close to the top of the bottom of my pot, so that'd be right about here. It's just above the bottom if I'm looking closely here, so kind of like right there. And then my stem comes out and kind of comes downward like that. So now I just have to connect it together. And I can erase this stuff now, because all I care about is the pear. But I always double check, and I'll go, okay, yeah, I put that in the right spot. That looks like in the right spot. My stem's close to the front here, kind of sticking out from the pear right about there. That looks good. So let's do the apple behind it now. If I broke that into a shape, I see the circle, and it's kind of right here on the back side. Anything else I notice? The top of the apple is lined up with the bottom of my pot where that sticks out there. So that's right here. I know the top of my apple is the same height So always look at the objects around you. Oops, something fell in my room. Okay, so it's about a roundish shape, about like that, and it's touching the back side of my pear. Coming back around right here. Okay, and then I have a stem sticking out right about there. Okay. Then the last thing we have is my coffee cup. Again, look at objects around you. I see the top of the cup is really close to that line, but not quite touching it. So if I come over here, I'm gonna kind of mark that in. The side of my cup is overlapping the pot just a little bit, so I know it's gonna stick over inside here and overlap some of that. I'm also going to be looking at the bottom of my cup, and I see it lined up with my stem. So if I mark that in here, I know my coffee cup is about this tall. And just like we did with the pear, I'm going to see if I can break it into some shapes. If I could see through my coffee cup, I know it's a cylinder. So it's made up of an oval on top of an oval and stacked together. So keeping that idea in mind, I'm going to make an oval and an oval, and the sides of my coffee pot are pretty much straight, but we did say it sticks over my my pot, so I know it's going to be about this wide, my oval. So I need to make my base wider. Sides, it does curve a little bit before it comes straight down. And then same thing with the other side. Okay. I don't want to see through my coffee cup, so I can erase that. Now I'm just double checking things again before I move on to the handle. Bottom of my cup is lined up with the stem. Top of my cup is close to that middle line, and it's also overlapping my pot here in the back, so it looks good so far. And I've left some space here for my handle, so I was making sure I took that into account as well. Now handle. Okay, it touches the top of the handle, kind of lines up close to the top of my cup, but not quite. And then there's a little bit of space before the bottom of the handle comes in here, and it just goes up to touch that line, kind of off the edge here and back down, up in here and back around. So there is my handle. Always double check things before you move on. And this is how far I want you to get on day one. Okay,